What's up guys, Syntax Error here. Today I'm going to show you how to detect a win in Clash Royale. You guys are currently watching the program written in Python detect the win on the left and the game that it played on the right. If you guys like this video, let me know in the comments because I'm thinking about releasing a part 2 linking this project with the Arduino. Please subscribe, like, and share the video if you can. Okay, so before we can start programming, we need to access the API. So go to the Clash Royale API. I've posted a link in the description below. Register, enter your name, provide an email, and now verify your email address. Okay, so after you have created your account, you should now be greeted with this welcome screen. Under here, you can click My Account, and I already have an API key, but you're going to create a new one. You're going to give it a name. I'm just going to give it test, description test. And for your allowed IP address, I have a link posted in the description, and that basically tells you what your like public IP address is. And this is what that's requiring. Okay, so after you have entered in your allowed IP address, you should see the key you have created with the name and description you've given it. So if we click on this, you will see something called the API token. And this is what we need in order for the program to access the API, so it actually knows where to pull the information from. Now we can begin programming. Click on New Project and just name it Clash Royale API Test. Click Create. So now we need the program to read the API token in order to actually use the API. So let's create a function that does this. So def get data. So now we're going to write the bit of code that actually reads the API token. So with open token as f key is equal to f dot read dot r strip slash n. Okay, so the way this program is actually going to work is it uses a URL, and the programmer specifies an endpoint or the specific data they would like to access from the API. So I'm going to use the player's endpoint, and that you can see what that is over here. So this is the endpoint I'm going to be using, and it just gets the player information. And there's so many different other ones you can get, which is like tournaments, you know, all that sort of stuff. So in order to do this, we're going to make a variable that holds the base URL. So base underscore URL is going to be equal to, as of now, it's https://api.clash.royale.com/v1. So that's the base URL, and the endpoint we're going to specify is the player's one. So endpoint is equal to slash, whoops, players. Okay, so now that we have told the program that, you know, this is how you're going to access the API and the URL that you need and the specific information you want, how is the program going to know which player to get the information of, right? Like there's so many different people who play this game. And the way the program is going to do that is through something called a player tag. In order to access your player tag, you're going to need to click on your name, and right underneath there, your player tag will be displayed. So the hashtag ROCOJGJYA is my player tag. After you have found your player tag, store it inside of a variable. And instead of putting the hashtag, put a percent symbol and then put in your player tag. So my player tag is 23R0C0JGJY8. Now it's time to send the API a request. So we can do this by making a variable called request. And we're going to use the URL lib package. And from it, we're going to use the request function. So this is what I've typed out so far, and my IDE automatically put this import statement so I can actually use this line of code. So the first parameter in here is going to be the URL string. So our URL string is going to be the entire API URL. So that's just the base URL plus the endpoint. And the endpoint again tells what information exactly we want from the API. We don't need anything for the second parameter, so we're just going to say none. And for the third parameter, we're going to create an authorization header. So all this is something that the API uses to verify or authenticate a user in a server. The reason we had to go through the process of creating the token was so that the API knows we're making a request. So our header is going to be authorization colon bearer percent s percent key, just like that. Next, we need to store the data the API returns in a variable. So we'll call the variable data and set it equal to URL lib dot request dot URL open. So we're going to open the request URL dot read dot decode UTF-8. Now, in order to view the file, we're going to put the data in a JSON file. So let's make a variable that will carry our JSON string. So let's name the variable JSON string and set that equal to JSON.dumps data. Now we're getting an error here, and that's because we haven't imported our JSON package. So we're gonna do import JSON, and you can see the error goes away. In order for us to actually view the data, we need to store it in a file. So we can do that with open JSON data.json w as out file. So in the program, we're referring to this file as out file. So in this out file, we want to write the JSON string in here. So dot write JSON string. So if we run the program right now, we aren't going to get any output because we aren't actually using the getData function anywhere. So to fix that, let's just print the getData function. Okay, so we have an error, an HTTP 404. So, that's because I forgot to include the player tag in the request URL. So now if we run the program, we just get this response, but that's not what we really care about. What we care about is the new file that's been created, and inside is our JSON file. So this is the response that we got from the request sent, and we can use all the different things that we get For today, we're going to be using the wins and losses. So we can get rid of the print get data. And here we're going to write obj is equal to json.loads data. This will turn the JSON file into a usable object. So from the object, we're going to need the wins, and that's in order to get the wins, we can say obj, and then here just write wins, just like that. But there's a problem with this. In here, this is represented as a string, so we can't really compare like two strings and see like which one is greater, right? So in order to do that, we can just we're going to cast it into an integer. So all that is basically taking the string value and making it into a number that the program can actually use. And what that's going to look like is put this in parentheses, so str, and then we're turning it into an integer, just like that. And now let's do the same thing for losses. So we can just Control C, Control V, and then turn this into what exactly it's called. So losses, just like that. Now let's print the output. So print wins plus str wins plus losses plus losses. So we're taking the integer and converting it back into a string so we can print it. Now we want to output the object, the wins, and the losses. And that basically finishes our getData function. And now we can set object, wins, and losses equal to getData. Okay, now is when we actually check if we won a game. So let's put this in a while loop. So true. Object is equal to get data at element 0. So this is like an array. So this is 0, 1, and 2. So we're getting objects, so that's 0. And now we're actually checking if we won a game. So the way the program does this is basically just looking for a change in either wins or losses. So if wins increases by 1, it means you won a game. If losses increases by 1, it means you lost the game. So we're going to do if int str object wins is greater than wins. So what this is doing is it's basically checking for the new number of wins and comparing it to the old one. So if the new one is greater than the old one, it means you won a game. So we're going to do print you won a game, and then break because we want to exit the program once we've gotten that win. And then if we don't have a win, then we most likely have a loss. So else if integer string and then losses is greater than losses. So we're basically just doing the exact same thing that we did previously. So print you lost a game. Oops. And exit the program once you've detected that. Okay, now let's run the code. Okay, so there's just a couple things we need to fix. The first thing, let's format this a bit better, so we'll make a new line there. and here, and then and now let's run it. Okay, that's good, except I think it's moving just a little bit too fast, so we can slow that down by importing. So we're basically importing the sleep function, so we can sleep for 10 seconds because the API is kind of slow, so this should be long enough for us to spot the you won a game or you lost a game line. And now if we run the code, there it is. So every 10 seconds it should put a new output. Now if we play a game of Clash Royale, it should detect a change.